Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Date in a Blink, where we're hosting Tina and Ruben for a Blink date. What is Date in a Blink, you ask? It's a 10-minute audio-only blind speed date experience. It's also a bit of a social experiment designed to move people beyond looks-based assumptions, curated profiles, and marathon messaging.
We at The Blink Date want dating to be fun and inspiring for Blinkers and hope this podcast inspires you to try new ways of meeting people and dating. Will our hand-picked matches find love on these Blink dates? Or will they say goodbye to each other after 10 minutes and never look back?
If you're new here, we're so happy you could join us. If you're a regular, we're so glad you've returned. Before we jump into today's Blink date, here's a quick word from our sponsors. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain a bit. It's totally free, and Anchor will distribute the podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and lots of other podcasting platforms. Not only that, but it has creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. It also lets you make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make your podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. We are here today on Date in a Blink with Tina and Ruben. I'm going to let you two dive in, but in case it's helpful to get the conversation started, I'm going to leave you with this question. What hobby or pastime would you love to get into if only you had the time and resources?
I'll let you go first, Ruben.
Oh, geez. Put me on the spot here. That's interesting. I've always wanted to get into collecting something other than junk, I've had friends who've collected stamps and coins and stuff, and it's always really cool to look at, and they get so entrenched into it. And I've never had the time to do it. Never even knew where to begin, because it feels like all the cool stamps and all the cool coins are so old now, and it's hard to get. But I'd probably do something like that. That'd probably be what I would go for. What about you?
First of all, that's really cool. I feel like people don't do that anymore. I don't know. I feel like it's more digital collecting nowadays instead of physical things. But for me, I think writing, blog writing, I think that would be really cool to just or vlogging, anything that's I don't know, putting your words into plot a story and releasing it to other people. Because I think one of my biggest fear is always being in front of a crowd and saying what I really want to say. So I think that's one of the reasons why I joined this also. So yeah, that's it.
So writing is an interesting thing. I feel there's so many powerful ways to communicate, and I think writing really allows people to communicate in ways that even audio, which is kind of weird because we're doing an audio thing right now.
Yeah.
With writing, there's so much open-endedness that you could get into. Is there a particular style of writing that you would be interested in? Is it more storytelling or more journaling, or is it what would you think?
Probably, I don't know. I think I want to explore a bit more to see what my niche is. So I'm open to trying all of them. But for me, I think I just want to focus on storytelling, but at the same time educating. Because the whole point, I feel not just putting your story out there is just for you to talk about yourself, but hopefully in a way that helps someone through maybe some stuff you've gone through, or stuff that you learn, your knowledge, and you're just passing it on. If you can't help the world yourself with the knowledge you have, the best thing you can do is to pass it on, and hopefully someone else can use that knowledge to help the world in some way.
Yeah, that's really cool too. Because I think we all have stories and pasts and things that we've gone through that we think is either minuscule or not important in everyday life, and then you find you happen to be sharing it in a at a party or something, when parties were allowed, and you find out, oh, someone's like, dude, thank you so much for sharing that. Now I know I can get through.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's literally the best. I think that's why I love interacting with people in the first place, because you learn something new from every person, no matter bad or good, you know, like if it's bad, you learn not to do that, you know, and then do better, or like do the opposite. So that's better. So like, yeah, you can learn anything from every person. So what about you? Would you like to do blogging or writing or share your story?
Well, that's the funny thing is I kind of already do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been a broadcaster for 10 years, and have actually just recently got out of the field. But I currently maintain an entertainment based website. So, and I have, you know, a podcast of my own and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm constantly, you know, sharing my story or pulling other people's stories out, you know, from them and being able to dig deeper. So it's an interesting, that's why I was like, oh, that's interesting. Cause that's really the field I just got out.
Is that why one of your hobby you would like is like collecting? Cause like you like not only collecting physical things, but do you also like to collect stories of like people?
I'm a very curious person. I like to know a lot about people, especially when they have an interesting story to tell. And what I've learned over the years of doing what I've been doing is that sometimes people don't know how to tell their stories, you know, so sometimes it helps having somebody who can ask a question and keep that conversation going. As far as collecting goes, I like knowing the story behind certain things, you know, like if I was able to get a hold of, you know, a historical artifact from, you know, like an old president or something, I would love to be able to say, oh, this was John Kennedy's, you know, pen that he used to sign this bill, and this is what he did, and this is how that bill, you know, played into action years later. You know, I would love that at some point, but again, don't know where to even begin with that.
Yeah, two things. Storytelling is an art. Yeah, there's a book that's like how to tell a story or something like that. I forgot. But so yeah, it's good that you want to help in that way and like help people story tell. But two, what is it? What's your like unique story? Like you said, like everyone has one, right? Like, so what's yours?
Oh gosh. In the 2.5 minutes we have left here, I don't want to completely take it up, but the brief story would be, I was adopted at a very young age. At 6 weeks old, I was taken from my biological mom. There's a story behind that at some point I can get into. But grew up basically in a foster home, and you know, that's, you know, a foster home because the parents who adopted me continued to do foster care. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the origin of who I am. What about you? What's your story?
Yeah. Okay. So I was born in Vietnam actually, and I came here when I was 10. So my story is just literally just working hard in order to get to where I am today, and just overcoming challenges and learning a lot through failing. And I want to share, I guess, all these failures, but lessons, I guess, I've learned, so that others maybe who go through the same thing I do can learn from it. But wait, so you have a unique story, right? What did you learn from that you want to share to other people?
You know, the important thing for me, I think, is that, you know, I grew up with parents who were really old. So, you know, everyone always thought, oh, your grandma's coming to parent teacher conference. I'm like, no, it's my mom. And, you know, what I learned over the course of the years is that a lot of people don't appreciate the relationships that they have with their parents. You know, I had a very special relationship with specifically my mom. But I learned very quickly that sometimes the person who gives birth to you, a lot of times the person who gives birth to you isn't actually, you know, the mom figure in your life, and how to accept that.
Wow, that's a good lesson. I would say that.
Yeah, it's definitely one that's different for most people.
I think people can relate in some way. Even though like I'm so in touch with my, like not in touch, but like, you know, I obviously have my biological parents, but I still struggle with some of that stuff because there's like a dynamic to like being like an immigrant to America, and like your parents struggling to, I guess, assimilate into or like understand that aspect of like having two cultures, especially since they haven't like really assimilated in. And then like, I don't know, like they have their own intergenerational trauma, and then like knowing that maybe they can't give you the best motherly figure like role that you need, and having to like build a support system outside of that. And that means that maybe your mother figure can be someone else. So like I resonate with your advice that you give.
So I'm curious because obviously I grew up here and was born and raised here. I've had lots of friends who came here at different ages. Was it difficult, like coming to America, especially at, I think 10 is kind of an older age, and trying to assimilate with the public school system and just getting, becoming friends with people? Was that difficult?
For me, I don't know. I think I always tried really hard, and I was always a hard worker, and like, not just in school, but like try hard to like fit in and like do all I can take to like, assimilate in. So for me, it wasn't hard in the moment. You know what I mean? Like during that, all you think about as a kid is just like, oh, I want to fit in.
At this point in the date, I jumped in to let them know that their date had ended and let them say their farewells. I gotta admit, I may or may not have teared up hearing how open Tina and Ruben were with each other after only 7 minutes of talking. I could tell they both had really incredible stories to share, but both of them were also so mindful of giving the other person space to share too. I was so sad to cut them off. Do you think they wanted to continue the conversation after their date in a blink? Tune in to the end of the season to find out. That's all we've got for you today. Shoot us a message on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at @TheBlinkDate or @DateInABlink to let us know what you think. If you want to sign up to participate in Date in a Blink, visit our website at www.theblinkdate.com. We hope you enjoyed listening and look forward to talking with you again next time.